Nickelodeon has came out with a documentary about a bunch of child stars who have been, assaulted, and during their upbringing in their careers. And this documentary has come out; it's going viral, and I just want to react to it with you guys. And without further ado, let's get right into it. Before I get started, like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. Let's go.
For many children who grew up in the 90s and 2000s, they enjoyed watching television shows such as Drake and Josh, The Amanda Show, All That, iCarly, and so many more like it. All were popular shows on the children's television network Nickelodeon, and all were produced by Dan Schneider. But in an explosive new docuseries, former writers, crew members, and other former child actors have come forward with allegations of a toxic workplace culture and harassment against the network's most successful producer. But that wasn't the only bombshell revealed during the docuseries. The biggest revelation arguably came from one of its former stars who spoke out for the first time about his experience of being sexually abused, allegedly by a dialogue coach who previously worked at the network. Investigation Discovery's latest docuseries, Quiet on Set: The Dark Side of Kids TV, gives viewers an inside look into the allegations of toxic workplace culture in many children's TV series produced in the 90s and 2000s by Dan Schneider. Some of those allegations came from a former writer for the hit children's series The Amanda Show.
Why she look like the male version? She looked like the female version of him. Don't tell me she don't. Look at this. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. He looked like the male version of her. She looked like the female version of him. Now let's keep going.
Jenny Cleggan, who was one of two female writers employed for the show. She claimed Schneider would show pornography from his computer. Cleggan said he would pressure the two female writers to publicly perform seemingly sexually explicit activities in front of coworkers, including asking the other female writer, Christy Stratton, to tell a story as if she's being sodomized.
Wow.
Stratton, who was also interviewed for this series, didn't want to speak on the incident, only saying she's not proud of it. She said working for Schneider was like being in an abusive relationship. Cleggan also discussed the inappropriate meaning behind a popular Amanda Show character's last name, Penelope Taint. She claimed that in the writer's room, Schneider said he wanted to keep the true meaning behind the character's last name a secret and said don't tell what the word really means in reference to a meaning about male genitalia. In addition to that, the two writers for the hit children's series say the difference behind the Penelope Taint. She claimed that in the writer's room, Schneider said he wanted to keep the true meaning behind the character's last name a secret and said don't tell what the word really means in reference to a meaning about male genitalia. In addition to that, the two writers for the hit children's series say they both had to split a single salary between the two of them. Jenny Cleggan would later go on to sue the show's production company, alleging gender discrimination, harassment, and hostile work environment. The lawsuit was ultimately settled.
I mean, when somebody's in a position of power, that means they have something they can take or give away. And if you're in that subordinate position, it can be extremely frightening.
Dr. Joni Johnston is a forensic psychologist. As she explained, oftentimes it takes several complaints against a person in power for it to be taken seriously.
We all know people who spoke up and were ostracized or were punished in some way. And it oftentimes takes a certain amount or number of people to keep talking and keep complaining before action is taken. And sometimes the people who are leading the pack are the ones who get stepped on. You know, they're the ones who almost become the sacrificial lamb, if you will, for people who then eventually are able to get some momentum and get some change. And so those concerns are valid concerns. I mean, we need to work to the point where there shouldn't be valid concerns, that everybody knows that there's safety there and there's legitimate people to listen and take those seriously. But that has not been our history. And so,
yeah, I gotta agree with her on this, bro. Again, I think as because of the internet, and again, the internet is very censored, and it's a lot of information that we should have access to that we don't. But there is information like this, for example, that comes out, and we're able to use our brains and gather our own opinions about everything that we see, hear, and collect, and be able to make our own decisions. And one thing that I've found out since the internet has kind of opened our eyes a little bit is in Hollywood and entertainment and a lot of these fields, there are some very dark things, behavior that goes on. And I don't know what it is about entertainment, bro, but it's so dark and it's mysterious. And I think part of that is because entertainment is not treated like employment, right? Like a lot of entertainers are independent contractors, and when you're employed, you have a little bit more, even though you have less, like I guess I say less earning potential. Usually you have more rights, but again, in entertainment, you have more earning potential, but you have less rights, and I think that's why in entertainment, rather that be acting or music or whatever it may be, this type of stuff is able to go on.
So it's understandable that those concerns are there.
In addition to those claims, former crew members on several hit Nickelodeon shows allege Schneider pressured female staffers to give him massages. Some also now find it inappropriate Schneider appeared in skits with Amanda Bynes, referring to the skit where the two were in a hot tub. Bynes would appear in a swimsuit while Schneider appeared fully clothed. Some former child actors who appeared in the docu-series said Schneider developed a close relationship with Bynes, appearing to mentor and run lines with her as the two were reportedly often alone together numerous times while on set. Schneider has since defended his relationship with Bynes, who didn't appear in the docu-series. He said he supported Bynes' decision to emancipate from her parents and assisted her when she attempted to run away from home.
Come on, bro. We all know what he was trying to do, man. He was manipulating her to get close to her. I mean, just look at Dan Snyder, man. I don't want to go back. I wish I had a picture of him right here on the screen, but he just looked like a creep, bro. Just look at his face, man. That looked like a creepy dude, bro.
Former child actors and alums from another Nickelodeon series, All That, shared their experience as being the few black actors working with Schneider on the show in the early 2000s. Brian Hearn, who starred on All That, believed he was racially stereotyped by appearing in sketches which featured him as a rapper named Little Fetus and a teen who sold cookies but played the sketch seemingly referring to drug dealing. He said he was referred to as a piece of charcoal and was uncomfortable wearing the leotard costume as a growing young teen at the time. Hearn also referred to a scene that stood out to him where he was covered in peanut butter for dogs to lick off as a dare. He can be heard in the clip saying he didn't like it, but the dare continued. The scene was for a sketch series called On Air Dare, which appeared as a kid's version of Fear Factor, which Hearn said after a while felt like they were a part of a torture chamber where they couldn't say no.
Whether it's an adult or whether it's a teenager who has this dream of being a star, they're becoming a star, and they're probably being reminded on a regular basis, which is another part of this power dynamics, that, hey, if you leave, there's 1,000 more people lined up right behind you to take your spot. And they're aware of that. They know that I'm not in the position of power. And so if I come in and I speak up, what's going to happen to me is I might be out the door. And I know there are thousands of kids behind me who are just dying to step in here. So it just becomes so much is at stake, I think. And so it just becomes, yes, my dream is coming.
See, again, that goes right into what I was saying. When you're employed, I mean, I guess employment is at will to an extent. But typically when you're employed, I guess your job is a little more secure rather than you being a independent contractor. And again, it's contractual. So you for example, you have a contract, let's say for 6 months, and at the end of that 6 months, your contract ends, and there's literally no legal obligation to continue your contract. And again, why this was so prevalent, because your contract is over. Well, hey, do A, B, and C for me for your contract to continue. Rather, an employment is just kind of an ongoing thing until usually the employee makes a mistake and then he's let go. And again, this stuff happens in the work environment in 9 to 5s too, but I think it's just more highlighted because we're dealing with people who are being viewed and entertaining millions of people.
Coming true, and it's a nightmare. And yet, do I want to give up that dream? Is it going to get better? There's all these things I think that we tell ourselves.
Another former child actor for the series.
I actually met her before. Said hi to her, nothing crazy. So my friend is involved in like kind of the Comic-Con universe, and this girl here was at the Comic-Con, and I got to say hi to her. She's a sweetheart.
Giovanni Samuels spoke on one scene where they were required to drink large amounts of fake coffee and sugar, which she later said felt like waterboarding. The two said while they were kids, they were shocked to learn sexual predators had been employed on the show. One being a former production assistant, Jason Handy, who had worked on shows like All That.
Just look at this dude's face. How do y'all not see this, bro? Oh,
in The Amanda Show. Handy was arrested in 2003 for kissing and touching a 9-year-old girl.
Come on, bro.
And later convicted for child abuse and child pornography. Handy had reportedly worked with many kids on the set. One parent of a former Amanda Show extra said her daughter had received explicit images sent by Handy. The docuseries then explores another convicted sexual predator who had worked on set as a dialogue coach named Brian Peck. He was convicted for sexual abuse in the same year as Handy. Wow. Peck had also appeared on the show All That as a recurring character called Pickle Boy, which former staffers and actors looking back believed to have an inappropriate meaning that at the time they may have shrugged off as a quirky Schneider joke. One of the series' former cast members said Peck had a signed self-portrait painting of serial killer John Wayne Gacy at his home, which he bragged about, and even had a collection of letters from the killer clown. During his time at Nickelodeon, Peck would later go on to work with former child actor Drake Bell, who appeared in The Amanda Show and later starred in his own show, Drake and Josh. Wow. And arguably the most shocking revelation, Bell alleges Peck subjected him to extensive and brutal sexual abuse during his time as his dialogue coach. Bell said the abuse began when Peck drove a wedge between he and his father, who was his manager at the time. Bell's father, who appeared in the series, said that
damn, man, there's real monsters out there, man. And it's crazy because it blows my mind how, like, again, all of these all of these people that are monstrous and creepy and have terrible human-like traits, I guess you could say, how do they always end up in positions of power? Like, I don't get it. Like, even, I mean, that's a story for another day, but, like, even, like, the whole Jeffrey Epstein stuff, how do these really disgusting people end up having positions of money and power? Just how? I don't understand.
He believed Peck was dangerous, and the wedge which was created between them generated an environment where Peck would prey upon a then 14-year-old Drake Bell. Bell's father said he went to production about his concerns about Peck, but claimed they went unanswered. Bell would later go on to fire his father and live with his mother, who technically took over the managerial responsibilities in Orange County. But then Peck took on the role of driving the actor to and from set and to auditions, sometimes keeping Bell at his home overnight. Bell says that's when the abuse began.
Wow.
Bell, who appeared visibly uncomfortable while recounting sexual abuse, didn't go into heavy detail on camera. He told the interviewer, imagine the worst stuff that someone could do to somebody as a sexual assault.
And you know what's crazy, man? The saying hurt people is so true. Because although he was a child when all this has happened to him, and at this moment, I'm going to completely, take his side here and be like, yeah, he was a victim and it was wrong what that dude was doing. But I don't know if they're going to mention it in this particular documentary, but Drake, I think is his name, Drake Bell or something like that. He ends up becoming a predator himself. And that's when you lose me. But yeah, man, again, a lot of these children stars, man, for parents out there that's putting y'all kids in acting and entertainment at an early age, y'all need to be hands-on with them, because this is something that's been going on for many years, and unless checked, will continue to go on.
And that will answer your question. Bell said the abuse was not a one-time incident, and he remembered feeling trapped with no way out.
Well, you're certainly describing really clearly one form of grooming, which is taking children, or young teenagers, and you befriend them at first and you develop a relationship. You talk about how special they are and you're going to be the big star, et cetera, et cetera. You become buddies with that person. They start to trust you. And then over time, that relationship starts progressing and that person starts, encroaching boundaries, encroaching them a little, smaller and smaller a little bit at a time. And of course, it's only to their advantage to disconnect them or isolate them as much as possible from other people who might see your agenda or have their own agenda in terms of protecting their child. So that's something that you see child predators in a number of settings do. Referring that. And then when you think about developmentally, you think about young teenagers and you think about their goal really is to, it's to find out who they are. And so part of being a teenager is rebelling a little bit against your parents, right? I don't know who I am yet, but I'm not you, Mom. I'm not you, Dad. That's just part of that natural process. And so it creates especially vulnerable situation in terms of this teenager who is looking to other people to kind of help define who they are. And then if you have a predator who's there, it's again another opportunity for them to befriend this person. I'm going to help you with your career. You're going to be a star. We're buddies, which it should never be that way. You're not a buddy. If you're in your 30s and somebody's 15, you're not a buddy.
That's facts. That's facts.
You could be a coach. You could be, but you're not a buddy. And when you start acting like a buddy, that's a red flag.
Yep.
Bell said he was afraid to
Yep.
speak
I
out.
agree. I agree with that 100%. 100%. And again, this industry is so dark, and it can take a turn for the worse so quickly. And to be honest, Disney Disney might be worse than this. Like, there's been so many Disney stars that have come out about not only necessarily like sexual abuse, but have also came out about like physical abuse or like harsh working hours or uncomfortable working. This really similar stuff to this, but maybe to a higher extreme. Again, child acting, parents, y'all need to be right there, hands on with y'all kids, because this happens way too much.
Out. The mother of his girlfriend at the time caught on that something might be going on when Peck called her house and Bell's cell phone numerous times, which she didn't feel was normal. Bell said he later revealed with his own mother the sexual abuse that was going on, and she later called the cops. Peck was ultimately arrested after he confessed on a recorded line. Bell's father said at the time he was relieved the arrest happened, but didn't find out his son was the victim in the case until years later.
Wow.
Peck pleaded no contest to oral copulation with the minor and performing a lewd act with a 14 or 15-year-old. Bell's identity as the victim in the case was not made public at the time, and according to Bell, Schneider was not aware Bell was Peck's victim until Bell confided in him. In the series, Bell would credit Schneider for offering support to him. Peck would only spend 16 months in prison and was later required to register as a sex offender.
16 months for, essentially destroying Drake's life, because I would argue that the abuse that Drake Bell went through was I would argue that the abuse that Drake Bell went through is what caused him to eventually become a monster himself. So shame on the Peck, whatever his name is, the Peck guy, for not only destroying a life, but also causing another person to destroy a life. It's an unlimited domino effect, bro, and shame on you, bro. And shame on you too.
Peck would only spend 16 months in prison and was later required to register as a sex offender. Following his sentence, Peck was later hired to work on the Disney Channel's children's show.
Did y'all just hear this? He's a registered sex offender, and he gets hired to work for Disney. What did I say? Disney's even worse, bro. Disney's even worse. You can't make this shit up, bro. You cannot make this up. He gets fired from Nickelodeon for sexual abuse of a 14-year-old kid, does jail time, register as a sex offender, and then shortly after getting released, you go get hired for Disney? Yo, Disney, bro. Yo, Disney. What is going on, bro? And it's young creators out here, young writers, young animators, young, not even necessarily young, talented. You use that word because young or old doesn't matter. There's talented people that would love to work for Disney and be under that, that have that brand under their resume and a great career, and you hire a sex offender?
Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. The docu hired to and was later required to register as a sex offender. Following his sentence, Peck was later hired to work on the Disney Channel's children's show, The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. The docuseries revealed several actors wrote letters of support for Peck and submitted them to the courts. Some of the names revealed included James Marsden, Alan Thicke, Boy Meets World stars Will Friedle and Ryder Strong, as well as Amanda Show and Saturday Night Live alum Taram Kellam.
Children should be believed, particularly a child who's come forward. I mean, it takes so much courage to come forward, to testify, to go before a judge. I mean, I have such respect for him and for his family for going through that process, because it so unfortunately so rarely still happens. And it's so unfortunate, because I know in interviews, that's one of the things that really seems to have haunted Drake Bell, is, talking about being in this courtroom and seeing his mom, essentially, or his family being on his side, and then seeing this kind of courtroom full of supporters. And I think that would be, again, a secondary trauma for him. No matter how much people knew or believed or whatever, just feeling that lack of support would just be really traumatizing.
In a statement, Nickelodeon said in part they were dismayed and saddened to learn about the trauma Bell endured, and said that they commend his strength and support to come forward.
Donate some money to a foundation for Nickelodeon facilitating that happening in the first place. Don't just come out, anybody say, oh, I'm so sorry for the actions of my crew members, and this is not what Nickelodeon represents, and I promise this will never happen again. No, hey, fuck them words, man. Y'all need to pay, because they did that under the brand of Nickelodeon. Y'all didn't do y'all checks and balances to make sure that y'all not hiring those type of people. And shame on Disney for rehiring the same person that did that to him in the first place, bro. Imagine you get assaulted at work, and then that person gets fired, and then you go get hired at another job, and then it turns out the person that got fired for assaulting you now works at your new job. What?
Bell himself admitted he later went on a downward spiral as a response to the trauma. Bell said he self-medicated with drugs and alcohol. He was arrested on DUI, and in 2021, he pleaded guilty to child endangerment and was sentenced to 200 hours of community service.
Well, we certainly know that experiencing sexual abuse, particularly repeated sexual abuse.
By the way, don't let them fool you, because I want to just paint the whole picture here. And shame. Look, man, I appreciate Law and Crime YouTube channel for bringing this to light, but y'all just glossed over his situation. You know what I'm saying? So for those of you that don't know, I will give a quick synopsis about what his actual crimes were. So what happened was he had a fan who was a minor. I believe this dude is in his he's in his late 20s, early 30s or something like that. Drake Bell is. And he had a fan who was, I believe, 13, 14 years old. He was talking to her since she was, I believe, like even younger than that, a lot younger than that. He was sending her explicit pictures and trying to groom her, essentially. And what happened is when he went to court, he pled for a lesser charge. Of course, that's the game. And they gave him child endangerment instead, so he didn't have to register as a sex offender. And they just glossed over that little detail, and I think shame on them for not quite giving the full story on Drake Bell. They just glossed over, his true actions, and they made it seem like child endangerment. That's still bad, but child endangerment is a lot worse than child grooming. You know what I mean? Child endangerment is not nowhere near child grooming, which is what Drake Bell actually did.
Well, we certainly know that experiencing sexual abuse, particularly repeated sexual abuse, and particularly when it's perpetrated by somebody that you trusted, is a very, very traumatic experience for any child or any teenager. And it can have, lifelong impact, particularly if two things don't happen. If the child is not able to get some kind of therapy, some kind of help, and if they don't feel supported by the people around them. So I think what I call that is almost like cumulative trauma or secondary trauma. And so it's not that children don't recover from childhood sexual abuse, they do, but they need some very specific things to help them do that. And that is, again, some kind of professional help oftentimes, and certainly a loving and supportive network. And without that happening, then I think you're more likely to see a child who, as they grow up,
watching over the past 2 nights was very difficult. Me
Damn, he looked different right here.
Facing my past behaviors, some of which are embarrassing and that I regret, and I definitely owe some people a pretty strong apology.
Let's talk about the massages.
Okay.
Watching the content yesterday, it was disturbing.
It was wrong. It was wrong that I ever put anybody in that position. It was the wrong thing to do. I'd never do it today. I'm embarrassed that I did it then. I apologize to anybody that I ever put in that situation. And even additionally, I apologize to the people who were walking around Video Village or wherever they happened, because there were lots of people there who witnessed it who also may have felt uncomfortable.
Y'all believe this? Y'all believe this, man? Look, people who, again, that get away with these type of things for many years, however long, and they happen to finally face, I won't even necessarily call it justice, but they get caught. And then they come out with these public apologies, expecting the public to forgive them for their actions. Do you guys believe that these apologies are true? I think it's some people may.
Actually,
that you've kind of been outed. Are you sorry that these things have come to light? And that's very tricky. You know, when somebody's genuinely sorry, you think, should it take something like this, a documentary, for them to come forward and say, I'm really sorry this happened, or at least approach the individuals privately and say, hey, you know, this happened back A, B, and C. I really realized I was completely out of line. This was 20 years ago. I was on a power trip, whatever. I really apologize and take responsibility. I haven't heard anybody talking about that happening. So that's where I think it kind of calls into question, again, you know, what are you sorry for?
Yeah, man. Again, bro, I appreciate y'all for watching that with me. I know that was long. It was a 16-minute video, but with me talking, it probably turned into like a 25-minute video. But again, I appreciate y'all watching that with me, and tapping in, man. Again, bro, this is, bro, I don't even know, man. This is crazy. Again, I'll say this, man. I'm gonna say my final thoughts, and then I'm gonna get out of here, man. I've been on live for an hour. We kind of got a lot of stuff out of the way. All I can say is, man, be careful. For those of you that want to get into entertainment, rather you're an adult or young, we've seen this happen. This can happen anywhere. I'm gonna be honest. It can happen in the workplace. It can happen at the park. It can happen at Walmart. It can happen anywhere. But if you look at if you look at the statistics, right? Disney, Nickelodeon, all these massive freaking platforms. Cartoon Network might be the only one that hasn't really, and I could be wrong about this, but Cartoon Network doesn't seem to have like these huge allegations of like sexual abuse or mistreatment of employees and stuff like that. But then again, all their stuff is animated for the most part, so maybe that's why. But anyways, when it comes to Disney and Nickelodeon and just all entertainment, bro, all of it, bro, music, movies, TV shows, you name it, there's always some weird shit going on. And I think people need to pay attention to that, because this shit is not a coincidence. It's not an accident that all these internet not internet, all these media / entertainment industries have a history of weird stuff going on, you know, even in politics, bro. Jeffrey Epstein Island and all this crazy stuff. So again, just be mindful for those people that want to get into entertainment, man. Unless you do like something like YouTube, where you could kind of build your own platform and not really have to interact with people. But anytime you have to rely on others, people in powerful positions, to put you in a place, that's when you got to be careful, because we seen it happen with Diddy, something Stein, Harvey Weinstein, right? We seen it happen with Jeffrey Epstein, and we seen it happen with Dan Schneider. A lot of people get into these positions of power, and they like to use that power to manipulate you and get favors out of you that are otherwise inappropriate, you know. So I just be mindful of that. Again, I want to thank everybody for watching. I apologize during the middle of the stream. I was kind of confused on what to do, but I was just bored, and I thought I wanted to get on here and just watch some videos. I'm probably gonna go to bed now, or maybe watch more videos. Just wanted to make some content on the way. I'm gonna try to do these lives a little bit more often. I want to do a live a day for at least an hour, and then maybe start going to 2 hours a day, and then maybe do and then probably max it out at like 3 hours a day. That would be super nice, but again, I don't be knowing what to talk about. Sometimes I just be tired. I just be lazy. But anybody that came here and watched this video all the way through, you was a real one, man. And subscribe to the channel and like the video and comment on the video and share the video and follow me on all these social medias. And yeah, man, and oh yeah, and buy some merch. I got merch, man. Check out the merch, man. Squadcast TV. Shout out Breadwinner TV, man. That's my boy. Much love over there, man. But yeah, anybody who watched it this far, bro, I fuck with you, bro. So tap in with me on social media, man. Maybe we go grab a beer, coffee, or something, man. Love all you guys. Again, Wasp Nest at Fridays at 8 p.m. something in that time frame, man. We gonna get it together, man. Much love, y'all. I'll let y'all go, man. Peace. It's Chucky Love.
I just want to say thank you for watching the entire video. If you like what you just saw, click here for the full show or click here for another clip. Peace.